If you ever saw this guy at a flipping carnival event, right, at Notting Hill Carnival, he'll be like, "Ugh, what's up with all these flags? Where's all the British ones?" It's a certain detest that he has for other foreigners. That's, you know, and there it is. He just proved it.
I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack.
Sadiq bans British flag. Video by Andre Walker. Oh, this is interesting, man. See what he has to say.
Sadiq Khan is demanding that flags are banned from British streets. That includes the Union flag, that includes St George's Cross and the...
First of all, the way he's coming out is so fucking funny, I can't lie to you. Sadiq Khan is banning flags. Oh my god. Like, bro, nobody talks like that, bro. Chill out, bro.
Relevant national flags in the various countries of the United Kingdom. You wanted to do it in order to demonstrate that this country is still ruled by Britain. Of course, Sadiq Khan was going to oppose it. But when you hear the reason that they've given for wanting to pull these flags down, you will be truly astonished. Hello, everyone. This is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe. But more importantly, please do consider a small donation to the Patriot Fund. Your money really counts, and we do good works up and down the country to support patriotic people. Okay.
Interesting.
So I'm getting pretty sick of the claims that this country was built by migrants. Let me tell you, the Dane law was not put down by anyone from Lesotho. The signing of the Magna Carta included no delegates from Swaziland. And indeed, the Irish Home Rule Bill, that was not debated amongst people from Moldova. Nor, in fact, was there a large contingent of Guatemalans at the time when we built St. Paul's Cathedral. Oh, I could go on. Windsor Castle, that great Motte and Bailey Castle, started by William the Conqueror, was not started by Vijay Bansal, who came over in order to support the NHS. Yes, of course, there have been people who've come to this country recently. And yes, of course, they've made a contribution. But what we are continually force-fed is this message that there was nothing in Britain before migration began, and in fact it's only since that migration began that Britain has had any value whatsoever. And we saw it, of course, didn't we, at the London 2012 opening ceremony. I'm not surprised that Tony Blair and Alistair Campbell cried, because if you look at the opening ceremony, it wasn't multicultural crap, as Aidan Burley, the MP for Cannock Chase, called it. I'll tell you what it was. It was a history of the British Labour and Trade Union movement. It wasn't a history of Britain. Did you see them literally forging solidarity at the creation of the trade union? Okay,
this is interesting. So he's obviously referencing back to before multiculturalism was a thing in the UK, having national migrants in the UK. So when it comes to the reason why the flag is becoming banned is because of the way it's been put and the message behind the reason why it's been placed every single where in the UK. The main reasons behind people raising the flag is to show that British people don't want migrants in here. The message behind it is get the migrants out. Let's keep Britain strong. Let's keep it white. When realistically, majority of the country is white. It's what, 80% white? So the message behind it makes no sense because majority of the country is still white, right? And they have a declining population. So yes, you should be allowed to have solidarity in your flag. I'm not saying that you can't have your flag and be proud of your flag, right? I'm not saying that. But the point is, the reason why the flag has been flyed about everywhere, it has been a racial reason behind it. It's to show that, oh yes, keep Britain strong, keep Britain white, right? Fuck the migrants. That's pretty much the whole reason behind this whole movement of flags. Because the country, we already know, is British, so you can't really take that away, right? But that's what I'd say.
In Sheffield, amongst the steel workers, then you saw things like Margaret Thatcher's Voldemort attacking the NHS, children on beds jumping up and down happy. Presumably, that was the bit before they got MRSA because the hospital hadn't been cleaned since 1986. But anyway, my point is very much this, that we are being told that migrants built this country, and it simply isn't true. Equally, it's not true to say migrants made no contribution. That would be silly. You know, my family were considered migrants in the old days coming over from Ireland and Scotland. My dad's part Greek.
I was wondering why his eyes were green. It makes sense now.
But mostly he's Scottish, and of course my mum was completely Irish. Those were considered to be foreigners coming over building the country. In the time of Samuel Pepys, by the way, he got into trouble because he sacked a brickie who had done a bad job and brought in a foreigner. But
this point that you're trying to make, that migrants didn't help build this country, when realistically, migrants helped rebuild this country. If we let's not forget what World War I and II did to Britain. The Blitz, the one that everybody knows. The Blitz. Remember what happened to the UK? Remember what happened to London? And what happened was, after winning World War II, Britain was in shambles, and they needed migrants to help rebuild the country. I'm not saying that in the beginning days that it wasn't only British people or English people or Scottish people who built up the UK. But the fact is, migrants helped rebuild this country. And how did they do that? Well, right after World War II, the Windrush generation, where Britain asked for people from the Caribbean, mainly Jamaica, to come over to the UK to help rebuild London, because they had a worker shortage because they lost so many people in the war, right? So in a way, yes, migrants did help build your country, but I will say this for sure, they helped rebuild your country and our country as we see it today.
And at the time, a foreigner was from Essex, and because the rules...
And besides, one thing that we have to know, one British value is multiculturalism. So you can't really have multiculturalism without having migrants.
Guild, you weren't allowed to bring people from outside the area. But this is why I wanted to explain this to you, because Sadiq Khan is saying that flags are making Britain a no-go area for migrants in the NHS. Yes, that is true to say that the chief executive of the NHS, along with Sadiq and along with a group of other people from the political left, are saying that the simple act of putting flags up means that the NHS can no longer function because the migrants that run it are no longer willing to go to work every day because they feel it's a hostile environment. Well, let me tell you a couple of things first of all.
Okay.
We always get this, don't we? The NHS was built by migrants. Now, I do think it is fair to say that the migrant contingent at the NHS is enormous, and that is something that is important to this country. But let's put a couple of caveats in there. Point number one, the reason why there are so many doctors and nurses who are migrants within the NHS is because of how difficult it is to qualify as a doctor and nurse in Britain and how easy it is to do it in other countries. There are plenty of examples, numerically small but still concerning, but there are plenty of examples of people who've never studied medicine in countries in the former British Empire who nonetheless have practice certificates anyway. Similarly, we are, with those people who are qualified, we are taking third world countries, and I don't call it the developing world because it's not developing. We go to third world countries, and one of the few things they do have is a quality medical profession, and we absolutely empty that medical profession into the UK. But let's park all that.
So, okay, he's trying to make it seem as if doctors that come from other countries aren't as qualified as the people that work in this country, when realistically, the people that do come over to the UK have to prove that they are qualified. You can't get hired unless you're qualified as a doctor. You can't, that literally doesn't make any fucking sense. So the point he's trying to get at, that doesn't have any validity. You can't just become a doctor. You can't just be in another country, right? And never have a doctor's certificate, never study to become a doctor, and then just become a doctor in your country. That doesn't make any sense. Jesus Christ.
For a minute. When we are talking about flying a flag that Sadiq Khan is so angry with, The reason we're flying it is to say that this is Britain, and to say that the tribal areas that have been created by Islamic immigration are not.
I'll tell you the reason why people aren't becoming doctors over here in the UK is because they just don't want to. They don't want to. And the reason why they don't want to is because they're not getting paid enough. And that's how they feel. The stress of becoming a doctor isn't worth it. Culturally, things have changed to where you don't have to become a doctor to become a higher earner. And even if you do become one, you're still most likely going to be struggling inside of the country. Even though doctors make a lot of money. Let's not forget that shit, right? But the people that are British workers, who are British doctors, they aren't staying here to take the NHS paycheck because the NHS paycheck is lackluster. They rather go to a country that appreciates them and gives them what they're worth. Hence why they leave the country. That's why there's no British workers. That's why there's no British doctors. Mainly all the time, all you see is an Indian doctor who comes from a place where they aren't valued as much as they would be valued in the UK, so they come over here. So they have a better standard of living. And it's not, he's making it seem as if British Empire went over to these countries and said, look, I'm only looking for you, man, come here. No, the workers have to choose to come over here. They chose to.
Acceptable and ought to be stopped. Right. That has nothing to do with the NHS. How many Somalian doctors are there? How many nurses are there from Eritrea? How many people who come in on small boats from Albania are working as medical registrars? How many Afghan migrants are brain surgeons working at Great Ormond Street? How many did Ethiopians contributed to the mental health services of Barts and Thomases? The answer is almost zero. In fact, it might be absolutely zero. Yes, there are countries that provide doctors and nurses, but they're principally pro-British communities anyway. The doctors and nurses from India, they come from families of doctors and nurses that have come from India for generations. Nurses from the Caribbean. Look, you can say lots of things about Jamaica, right. St. Vincent's, the Grenadines. You can say a lot of things about all of these places in the Caribbean, but very foreign they are not. Right, they all speak English, they're all Christians, and they all do GCSEs and A-levels exactly the same as you do in the United Kingdom.
So this is what the point he's trying to get to is, because they don't speak English, they don't share your culture in any shape or form, you don't want them. And that's the point behind the flag that has been laid out by me. Is because you don't want flipping multiculturalism anymore. Right? And the sign of the flag is showing, look, if you ain't like us, get the fuck out. That's what the whole flag's point is right now. Why those flags were getting flyed in the first place. Right? I understand there were a lot of people that came over here who didn't really speak English, didn't try to incorporate themselves into the culture. Right? But why the fuck does that matter when realistically they are adding to your economy? Why does it matter if they can't speak English? I get it. It makes it harder for somebody to, like a customer or somebody who's got a health condition, if they had a if they had a doctor that couldn't really speak English very well, that is probably a problem. But most likely, more often than not, how many times have you been to a flipping NHS where nobody speaks English, bruv? When has that ever fucking happened? Because I can tell you for a fact, in London, especially in London, I've never had a doctor that doesn't speak English very well. Never. Because that would be a pretty bad problem. If you couldn't tell your doctor what's wrong with you, and they couldn't tell you what's wrong with you, why the hell would they be hired?
Now, some people who are colour prejudiced will be bothered about people coming from Jamaica, but those of us who are sensible and who know that this is about culture, not skin colour, will not worry at all. And so what has happened once again with Sadiq Khan is that he is attempting to prevent us from asserting our rights as British people in order to protect immigration on a dishonest basis. Because the people that are being rebuked or being offended by these flags are people that have come to this country in order to be leeches on this country. And that is not nurses from Jamaica.
Well, that's not true, because I'm not a leech in this country and I've been born here my whole life, and I still think there's some type of racial bias towards this flag raising that's been happening in the country. It's very scary times. You know, people are showing their true colors. A lot of people are showing their true colors. 33% of the whole population, of 33% of people who are politically active are voting for reform. That means 33% of the population has some type of racial bias or racist tendencies. That's scary times, man. And when you understand the people that have been putting up these flags are on the right, and what the right has been pushing is for immigration to just stop, right? A racial identity, a racial scheme. It's scary times.
They are not bothered. They are patriots for this country. I mean, one of my best mates, or I haven't seen him in a few years actually because he's been so busy, but one of my best mates used to be the Regimental Sergeant Major of the Coldstream Guards. He is a Jamaican. And of course, he's not interested in black this and a culture that and whatever. He just basically comes from a part of the British Empire and fancied serving back home in what he sees as the home country.
So why can't these migrants who don't speak English not do the same thing? See what I'm saying? The only difference is he's okay with Jamaicans being here because they've gotten used to Jamaicans, but they don't want to get used to Asians. That's mad.
And that is an entirely sensible thing. But what is happening now is this. We are deliberately being force-fed a dishonest line to say that this country doesn't have anything to do with Britain and that this country was built by multiculturalism. It isn't true. Similarly...
Well, it is true. It's been rebuilt by multiculturalism. If it wasn't for the Windrush generation, black people coming over to help rebuild London, help rebuild the economy, help rebuild your houses, you guys would be in the shit right now. Real talk. And who do you think that was because of? Who do you think helped build your houses and all of that shit? It was the people that were immigrants in your eyes.
To suggest that pulling the flags down is a vital thing to keep our NHS alive is simply done for the following reason. Because we know that British people are addicted to the NHS. The reason for that, by the way, is that British people believe, because they've been told for years, that there are two options. Either keep the NHS as it is unreformed, or you will die on the streets if you can't afford your treatment. Unfortunately, we are where we are. That isn't true, but nonetheless, that's where it is. Sadiq is saying what we should do is threaten to abolish the NHS if they assert their patriotism, threaten to abolish the NHS if they demand their flag, threaten to abolish the NHS if they take back their streets. I'm going to say this is Britain. There is no country in the world that would accept not being able to fly its own flag on its own streets. Can I tell you?
Well, then, if the reason why you fly your own flag on your streets isn't because you want to make it seem that people aren't welcome in your country, then cool, you can fly your damn flag. You know what I'm saying? It's like during flipping carnival, bro. Notting Hill Carnival. How many flags are being flown over there? Are there racial reasons why they're flying their flag? Are they trying to show that they are better than you? Or is it in a way to show that, okay, you're not welcome here to another type of culture? No, that's not the reason why those flags are to be flyed. If the reason behind it isn't malicious, then cool, fly your flag. But the reasons why the flags are being raised now or recently is for a sign to say, look, if you ain't British, you're not welcome here. That's the point behind the ban that Sadiq Khan has obviously recognised.
I mentioned little Moldova before. I've mentioned it before because I've got a mate from the country. Let me tell you something. Moldova, as you know, if you watch this channel regularly, took in more migrants from Ukraine than any other country. Numerically, it is the country on earth that has taken more migrants than anybody else in recent years. By the way, it never took migrants before the Ukraine war. I'll tell you why. Because isn't it amazing? People fleeing war, people fleeing famine, people fleeing genocide didn't want to go to Moldova. The reason is it used to be the poorest country in Europe. It's not anymore. But when the Ukrainians walked out and started flying the Ukrainian flag in Moldova, the Moldovans threatened to throw them all out of the country. And they said, in this country, you fly only this flag and you fly it on every public building. I think what is amazing is the way that Eastern Europe is increasingly teaching us about patriotism and increasingly teaching us the way forward that we should be. The reality is that flying the flag is not offensive. Anyone who's offended...
Oh, it's not offensive. Then why are so many people offended? why do so many people know that the reason why you guys are flying this flag is because of reasons like, oh yeah, this is a stand against the migrants. That's the whole reason you guys have been flying the flag in the first place. And he just proved the point that in Moldova, you banning somebody else's flag is, oh yeah, that's okay, man. Yeah, doing that's okay. But when the person isn't actually from your country, allowing somebody to have free speech, have a freedom of expression, when you ban that, how does that progress society in any shape or form other than making people conform to the way you want them to be? Once again, I have no problem with people flying Union Jacks or the St. George flag, but if there is a malicious reason behind it, that shouldn't be a thing. That's fucked up.
By Britain flying the flag should not be in Britain. It doesn't bother me. I mean, at the end of the day, if I was to move to the United States...
So what he's saying is he'd rather ban every single other flag other than the British flag. Sounds like inhibiting freedom of expression to me.
States of America and start flying the British flag all over my house, the American residents would be offended. But that's because it's the United States of America. We should have the right to fly our flag and it shouldn't be stopped. And by the way, there is still a dispute in Kent.
It's the same reasons I give to somebody who flies the Nazi flag, or what do you call it, the swastika flag, right? Clearly the reasons behind that flag are not are not okay, you know? And if you can understand that, and if you understand that somebody could fly a flag out of malicious intent, then you must be able to understand that when people that are flying their flags out of malicious intent are not the same people who are flying their flag out of patriotism, right? If you understand the difference, those people shouldn't, the people that are flying it out of malicious intent shouldn't be allowed to fly their flag for those types of reasons. If they're flying it out of Unitarianism, out of solidarity, cool. But if it's for reasons like, oh yeah, fuck the migrants, get them out of here, that shouldn't be allowed, man.
For Nigel Farage accidentally banning Christmas. And that is to say, and this is just an update on a previous video, that what had happened was Kent County Council officers had said that they were not willing to put in Christmas lights anywhere that had flown flags because of health and safety. Because, you know, if you put outdoor lighting on a lamppost, the fact there's also a piece of cloth attached to it might be dangerous. Shh, it's not. But don't tell anyone that. But of course, Nigel Farage's Reform Kent County Council almost...
So what? That thing can't just catch on fire? Like, it can't just catch on fire? Right. That makes sense.
Almost banned Christmas because of that, and that dispute is ongoing. I'm very, very upset for that local district council who were told either take down your flags or risk not having Christmas. I think that is unacceptable. Every country in the world thinks that we are completely mad about having this problem with flags. The reality is it is the national symbol of our country or countries, and we should have the right to display them. I understand full well that there are issues specific to Northern Ireland where there's questions about flying the Red Hand of Ulster or the tricolour. The rule now apparently is the flag of Northern Ireland is the Union flag and you shouldn't fly anything other than that. I understand why people don't accept that, but when you're talking about England, Scotland and Wales, the rules are very, very clear. And I will tell you something else. Even in Northern Ireland, I'd rather see a tricolour than a foreign flag. And of course, we should all have...
See, there it is. There it is. He doesn't want anybody else to show off their culture. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's the problem he has. There it is. Once again. So his reasons why people should be allowed to fly their flags was freedom of expression. But then once he sees a foreign flag, he's like, no. How does that make any sense, man? How are you going to have that bias? And he's showing his true colors. It looks like he's trying to show... No, he's clearly shown that he's a grifter. Because he understands the reasons behind somebody would be banned for flying a malicious flag, but doesn't understand that people who are flying their flags maliciously, the UK flag maliciously, he completely doesn't understand why you should be banned for that. He's grifting, man. He's grifting. This is sad, man.
The right, as we do in law, to fly those flags, and people like Sadiq Khan should not stop it. Until next time, goodbye.
But there you go, man. So yeah, he's shown what he believes. So this is the type of guy where if you ever saw this guy at a flipping carnival event, right, at Notting Hill Carnival, he'll be like, oh, what's up with all these fucking flags? Where's all the British ones? You see what I'm saying? It's a certain detest that he has for other foreigners. And there it is. He just proved it. And these are the reasons why Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, these people are allowed to be okay, allowed to keep thriving when they are clearly showing signs of racism and bias, racial bias. And this guy is in that same pool. He's a grifter. He just wants to get people on his side so that he can make some money. Because realistically, he has proven, he just showed that he is able to recognize when somebody flies a flag out of malicious intent, but then completely disregards the fact that somebody who holds a British flag could do the same thing. What does that tell you? Bias, first of all. Second thing, what that shows you, this guy's grifting, man. So don't listen to this guy. That's what I'd say. Anyway, I would love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Until next time though, love.